Welcome back as we continue our discussion about beef, corn, and sustainability. You know, we hear a lot these days about the term ecosystem services, and I'm curious, Cassie, can you give us a definition of what that term really means?
Yes, so simply put, ecosystem services are the benefits that society and people obtain from the ecosystems that we're surrounded by. Looking at that a little bit further, you know, the farmers and ranchers across the United States have really been developing ecosystem services and generating those for years and generations, but they probably wouldn't put that label on it. So when we talk about ecosystem services, we're looking at soil carbon and how much is sequestered in the ground, greenhouse gas emissions and how do we reduce those emissions, water quality impacts, water quantity impacts, and how do we conserve those. So that's, you know, in looking at biodiversity, that's another potential as well. So when we look at ecosystem services, that's really, you know, what we're referencing.
So Brandon, practically speaking, what does that term mean to you as a corn grower?
You know, when we hear the term ecosystem services, you know, a lot of times farmers think of that and they get a little glossy-eyed. You know, they hear carbon sequestration, they hear carbon credits, they hear all these things. They're like, all right, what does that mean? Well, we realize at NCGA, well, let's take that back down a level to soil health. And so we developed a group called Soil Health Partnership. It's 200 farmers over 16 states. It's farmer to farmer. It's data-driven. So we're really trying to develop the framework of what works in what situation. Where can we the best places for cover crops? How do we get those things together? How do we really start developing the base work for what we need to do to get to that next level? And farmers in general will really grasp onto that because we all want to be better stewards. We want to be able to figure out how we can implement these things into our own farming operations to get to that next level. And Soil Health Partnership is one of the key components of that.
So Cassie, tell us a little bit about your organization and the goals of your organization.
Yeah, so Ecosystem Services Market Consortium, or ESMC for short, because it's a mouthful. But our mission is to advance ecosystem services, to incentivize farmers and ranchers, to improve their soil health systems, which in the end benefit society overall. We're a nonprofit organization, and one of our guiding principles is to be producer-centric. So because of that, our ultimate goal is to provide as much value back to farmers and ranchers as possible.
So Jared, I'd ask you, I mean, in what ways can beef cattle producers benefit from this program?
Well, as a beef producer who also farms, we can benefit a lot by making the soil better with all the organic matter that the manure brings to it. And the better the soil, the more carbon it pulls down out of the atmosphere and just makes for a better ecosystem in general, really.
And Brandon, what would you say from a corn producer's perspective?
You know, I think a lot of this is very exciting because we're looking at the next stage of what we've been trying to do. You know, as you just keep moving on through and say, okay, well, how can we benefit the farmers as a whole, whether it's corn guys or whether it's cattle guys? You know, what is that next stage of a market opportunity? And we're realizing that as we understand this, we can partner with people like ESMC, we'll be able to benefit not just from a revenue standpoint, but also from the environmental standpoint, and being able to understand, more importantly, what's going on in us and around us to benefit society as a whole.